LCJ Live. Today is Saturday, November 9, 2024. Thanks for being here. If you're watching this on YouTube Live, thank you. Special Saturday edition. We're going to give you the Friday box office results, and not just the Friday box office results in North America. No, we're going to the UK too with Paddington in Peru. The Friday numbers are in for that. It doesn't come here to North America for another 2 months. That's been the strategy for these Paddington movies. They open in the UK in November and then come to North America the following January. That's exactly the case again with Paddington in Peru. And I think a lot of people are unhappy here that they can't see it for 2 months. But Paddington in Peru started off with 2.2 million yesterday in the United Kingdom, which is above the 1.4 million of Paddington 2. That's what I just saw a little bit ago. We'll break down more of the numbers over the coming weeks. But so far, Paddington in Peru, pretty strong. It comes here, I believe, January 17, something like that, from Sony. Remember, the first Paddington was a Weinstein Company release. The second Paddington was a Warner Brothers release, and now this time it's Sony Columbia. It's rare for an animated movie franchise. I'm about to talk about How to Train Your Dragon. It's rare for any franchise to have 3 different studios distribute each installment of a franchise, but that is what happened with How to Train Your Dragon. It was a Paramount DreamWorks release back in 2010. It was a 20th Century Fox DreamWorks Animation release for the second one in 2014. And then in 2019 for The Hidden World, it was a Universal DreamWorks release. So How to Train Your Dragon and Paddington in similar company. I've got some cool pezzas here with me. Hope you had a good Halloween and Halloweekend and all the festivities that went into last weekend. And so I've got some cool pezzas here to show off today here on LCJ Live. Let's now get to the Friday numbers here in North America. Your leader so far for the weekend is The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. Sort of. There's an asterisk next to that. It had preview showings a week ago today, nationwide, that did $2.3 million. That's very strong. And between the Thursday showings and yesterday's showings, it added 2.7 million. So right now it's at $5 million. And boy, does Lionsgate need a hit. Because of all of these movies in the last couple of months, from Megalopolis to White Bird to The Killer's Game, Never Let Go, and there's a few others I'm forgetting, but so many recent Lionsgate movies have bombed. And now you have The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, which is bringing in families. Families need something else besides The Wild Robot. And yes, some went to Hit Pig last weekend, which is good, but a lot of families are going to The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, which could end up with about $10 million this weekend. Lionsgate's top 5 movies of the year are all films that came out pretty early in the year. Horror movies, like The Strangers Chapter 1 from May, and Ungentlemanly Warfare, which came out in April. Imaginary is in there. So a lot of early in the year movies, and now maybe we'll see The Best Christmas Pageant Ever sneak into that Lionsgate top 5 for the year. And a $10 million weekend, I think they would be very happy with that. So right now, that's your leader, but it may not win the total weekend because of those previews kind of front-loaded from last weekend going into this money. Still, I think you could be looking at either Heretic or Venom at number 1. Heretic right now at 4.3 million. 1.2 million from Thursday, and yesterday added 3.1 million. So A24 looking at about $10 million for Heretic this weekend from a movie that got a C+ cinema score, which is so-so for even for horror. And I have not seen it. I really don't have an interest in seeing it. It feels like the trailers have given away everything, and it does not look that great to me. But the horror fans are still going. I mean, this is pretty good for horror. Even $10 million is not bad. 4.3 million so far for Heretic. Venom: The Last Dance, which I saw the other day, finally. Wow! I think it's entertaining, but in a bad way. It's hilariously bad. Just across the board. The dialogue, the action, the situations. It's goofy, it's silly, it's ridiculous. Wow. And it's short. Now, you're probably saying, wait, isn't it 109 minutes? Yeah, but apparently the credits were 15 minutes. I couldn't stay through the credits. You know, I had to go. You know, when I saw it was done after 93 minutes and the mid-credit scene, I was like, wow, the credits must be super long, and I guess they are. I had to go. But it was just a really bad film. Venom: The Last Dance at 3.9 million. It's at 102.5 for Sony Columbia. So far away from the 213.5 million that both of the first two Venom movies did, 2018 and 2021. This is barely going to hit half of that. I mean, if it does another, let's say 8 million, that's 110. And next weekend, I mean, you're talking it maybe makes a run at 125. That's so far away from the 213.5 of the first two Venom movies. This is the last one. It's got to be the last one. It's called The Last Dance. This is not Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where then they decide to do two more. This is not Toy Story 3, where then they decide to do two more. This has got to be the last Venom. Number 4, based off your Friday numbers, The Wild Robot with 1.5 million. It's at 125.7. It is about to pass Migration, which did 127 million for Universal this past holiday season. The Wild Robot has Best Animated Feature buzz behind it, and it could still, with even Red 1 is PG-13, then you've got Wicked and Moana 2. You could see The Wild Robot definitely pass 130, maybe make a run at 135 million dollars. Wombat Emperor, what'd you think about The Last Dance? Just explained it, Wombat Emperor, but it's pretty bad. It is just, why? Why was this trilogy so awful? Why? Just the concept of it, the performances, the execution of it, just one of the worst trilogies of all time. When people say, oh, what are your favorite trilogies? And people say, Toy Story, they'll say How to Train Your Dragon, and then what are their least favorite trilogies of all time? Venom has to be up there because none of these movies worked. I know some people thought the first one was good. No, the first one was terrible. It was cheesy. It was awful. And so is this. And so was the second one. At least this one wasn't as painful as the second one. I think because I enjoyed myself watching just how poor everything was and the silly situations. I had a better time watching this one than maybe the last one, but it's still poorly made. Number 5, Smile 2, 1.4 million. It's at 57. It's going to pass Transformers 1 and get on the Paramount's top 5 for the year. But you talk about a movie that is not going to come close to what the last one did. The last one did like 108. This is going to be at 60. And that's a major disappointment. A lot of other people wanted to see a lot of other horror movies like Terrifier 3, like Heretic, like some others that have come out in the last month. And Smile 2... Boy, Paramount thought they had a franchise off of that first one, which was kind of lightning in a bottle, and it opened at, 22, did 108. I mean, that's strong. This, I think people just don't care about it. The attention span, the shelf life of something is not there. So, Smile 2, a disappointment. Number 6, talk about a disappointment. Conclave, a film I hate. Oh, wow. Every move it makes is just, are you kidding me? Conclave had a 1.2 million. It's at 18.6. If it gets past 21.7, which I think it will pass The Bike Riders to be the highest grossing Focus Features film of 2024. Kia, why are you talking about The Wild Robot when you could be talking about Le Epic Transformers 1? I think Transformers 1 is a better movie. I do. I like The Wild Robot, but Transformers 1 to me has the grit, the action, that third act, the surprise factor, the wow factor. I didn't get as much of that from The Wild Robot. The Wild Robot, to me, is good, and it's got emotion from Bill Nighy's character, but it's kind of a familiar story, and not all of the third act emotion really comes together. It's not a terrible movie. It looks great. It's got some good voice performances. The music's excellent, but if I had to pick one over the other, I'd pick Transformers 1. Number 7, according to your Friday numbers, is Here, which added 720,000. It's at 7.8 million. Another terrible movie. Just a mistake after mistake from Robert Zemeckis. Poor decision after poor decision. It really doesn't work at all. And talk about cheesy. There's some moments in there where you're like, what? What is happening here? So Here is up to 7.8 million. It'll get to 10, maybe 12. Not great. Not great numbers for Zemeckis, for Hanks. A lot of people saying, oh, has Hank's star power gone down? No, it's the project. And I think the project turned a lot of people off. Also, Here is a really depressing movie. Anyone who is the target audience of this, which is probably 65 and up, should not see this movie because they will get absolutely depressed about losing their house. Oh, wow. Man Called Otto from 2 years ago, excellent movie. That showed with $64 million that Tom Hanks still has star power, along with some of his other projects. Number 8, We Live in Time, another movie I don't care for. God, there's so many movies out there that are just not good right now. We Live in Time, 701,000. It's at 20.3 million, right about where Priscilla was last year for 824. This could make a run at 25 million bucks for A24, which I think they would be happy with. And I think if it gets to 26, could actually be one of the 10 biggest A24 movies of all time, though maybe Heretic overperforms and outgrosses that quicker. We'll have to see. Number 9, Overlord, The Sacred Beginning. Animated film that opened yesterday, 555,000 so far. And rounding out your top 10 as of the Friday numbers that we have so far is Terrifier 3, which added 411,000. It's at 52.3. Now again, that's not as much money as what Smile 2 has made, but it's pretty close, and Terrifier 3 took away a lot of money from Smile 2 that I don't think Paramount was expecting. We don't have the money for Beetlejuice, or Anora, or Elevation. However, A Real Pain, which I saw the other night, expanded from 4 theaters to 12, added 86,000. It's at 404. It goes nationwide this Friday. I wanted to like A Real Pain. I couldn't quite get there. There are moments where I thought Kieran Culkin's performance was solid, but a lot of the movie tries to be charming and it tries to be profound, and it genuinely doesn't achieve either of those. It is a dramedy, sort of, and very short. It's 82 minutes before you hit the credits. And it doesn't have a lot to say. I don't think it has as much to say as what Jesse Eisenberg wants. It kind of goes down obvious paths, and it makes some odd choices, especially towards the end, and it wants to have a story that has gravitas. Jesse Eisenberg took many more risks with the previous film he directed called When You Finish Saving the World, which no one saw, which is too bad. It's not a perfect film, but it's a better film than this. Julianne Moore from a couple of years ago, and that film took more risks in terms of the story, in terms of the character development, than A Real Pain. A Real Pain does not have a lot when it comes to that is genuinely successful. It wants you to love everything it does, and I couldn't get there. Coming out this week, besides A Real Pain expanding nationwide, you have Elton John, Never Too Late, the Elton John documentary that I saw a while back. I didn't love it. It doesn't have, talk about emotional power, it does not have that compared to many other films. And when you look at the Critics' Choice Documentary Awards, which is, the winners will be announced tomorrow, when you look at that music category, it's not in the music category, which makes sense because there is not a lot in this Elton John documentary that's new, that's a revelation, that's interesting, frankly, and that's powerful, compared to some of the other ones, like Piece by Piece, like Music by John Williams, which I highly recommend. It's on Disney+. I Am Celine Dion, The Greatest Night in Pop. They have a lot more oomph to them than this Elton John documentary, which is in select theaters Friday, goes to Disney+ in December. And the big nationwide theatrical release this Friday is Red One. Amazon MGM has a lot behind this, not just a reported $200 to $250 million budget, but the star power here of Dwayne Johnson, who also has Moana 2 this month, Chris Evans, J.K. Simmons, Lucy Liu, Bonnie Hunt. So you've got all these big names in it, and it's a holiday movie. It's a PG-13 movie, which may prevent some parents from taking kids. But Amazon had this in test screenings a while back. It was apparently originally going to be a streaming release, and they said, no, we are putting this in theaters. And I bet The Rock had a lot to say with that, too. The early tracking is 35 to 40. I think they'd be happy with it, except the budget's so high. So we'll see what happens with Red One. It will be your number one movie next weekend, unless it flops gigantically and only does like $10 million. But Red One should be number one next weekend. And then we have the doubleheader of Gladiator 2 and Wicked, followed by Moana 2. Some awards movies sneak in there. And I've been watching some awards films. I got more to screen today and tomorrow and the next few days. I watched a movie last night, a big December release. I cannot say what it is yet, but I think it will do very well. I can't say what it is, but I screened a big December movie last night. There's a lot more to screen for Critics' Choice Awards voting consideration. And more to see for the end of the year. You've got Mufasa and Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Kraven the Hunter on the way, along with several Christmas Day movies and other films for December. So there's a lot happening in the world of entertainment. More award show nominations will be coming out soon. Excuse me, and more big holiday movies as well. So Red One, I would say, maybe it gets to that 35. I don't know if that seems a little high to me or a little low. It just depends on how many families want to go see this, even though it's PG-13, ahead of Wicked and ahead of Moana 2. But if it can get to 35-40, I think that's a decent #1 spot for mid-November. And then when we're back here next time for LCJ Live, we will preview the doubleheader of Gladiator 2 and Wicked. Which one will win the weekend? Which one will make more money overall? How will it affect the box office? Plus Moana 2, which could do Inside Out 2 numbers, which would be thrilling for Disney. And I saw that tracking headline last night for Mufasa of only $66 million to start. Yes, you've got that long Christmas to New Year stretch, but gosh, I think Disney wants more than a $66 million start, though it does have direct competition with Sonic. So that's going to be really interesting for Christmas to New Year's, a little before and a little beyond. But there you go. So that's what's happening in the world of movies right here on LCJ Live, special Saturday edition. Thank you for watching. I've got more Animation Scoop Q&As and LCJ Q&A podcast episodes coming at you soon. Go to animationscoop.com, lcj.podbean.com. The website's lights-camera-jackson.com. Don't forget to listen to the Too Fast 2 Films podcast. That's toofast2films.com. X at LCJ Reviews, Instagram at LightsCamJackson, and YouTube. If you're watching this, thank you. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notifications. I usually go live Sundays at noon Eastern. We had to do Saturday today, but we should be back here next Sunday. That would be November the 17th at noon. We'll take a look at that Red One box office, preview those other movies, and more. Thanks for being here for today's episode of LCJ Live. Have a good week. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.